The weapons being used in these strikes are so powerful that they pulverize not just buildings, but the human bodies inside. These paramedics are digging through the rubble, taking out human body parts. We just saw a charred human foot taken out and placed alone into a body bag.
This is all their relatives have left to bury. But there aren't many members of the family left. 23 of the 29 people who sought refuge here were killed. The other 6 are in hospital in critical condition. Nearly an entire family line wiped out in a moment.
Layla Milana Allen has spent months covering the Gaza war for America's PBS NewsHour. And in an interview with Media Watch, she said, seeing the conflict firsthand makes all the difference.
Being there in that environment is everything. I'm watching the body parts of children being picked out of the rubble, flesh scattered everywhere, burning flesh out of rubble. The smell is something you will never forget. And trying to communicate that to an audience to make them understand that this is not a video game. These are lives, they are homes, they are the bodies that you hold and hug every day being ripped apart. I think that is so important because that's what war is.
As we know well, first-hand reports have not been possible from Gaza in the last 12 months, or not from Western journalists, because Israel has stopped them going there. So for Australians who rely on the mainstream media, it's been easy to turn away from what is going on.
And it's incomprehensible to me that for a year, journalists have not been allowed to go and report on the bloodiest conflict in the world. And we've just accepted that. And if the Fifth Estate isn't there holding people to account for what they're doing, that's it, really. Everything goes out of the window, right? Human rights go out of the window, international law goes out of the window, because there's no way to hold anyone to account. So we have to put ourselves in that position and fight all we can to get there and see it firsthand.
But while Western reporters are now in Lebanon, they're not entirely free to report there either. Around 1/3 of the country is covered by IDF evacuation orders, and going to those areas where the conflict is carries a high degree of risk.
2 Lebanese journalists were killed yesterday working in the south. So the threat's incredibly high. And the IDF has said any cars driving south could be a target. And they do not make exceptions for journalists. And we know they don't make exceptions for medics because more than 100 medics while working have already been hit in the last 3 weeks of this war. What that means is there's an increasing amount of coverage happening from the balcony of hotels. Reading press releases, making phone calls, which is not the job of a foreign correspondent in wartime, and that worries me.
But if reporters like Layla can keep bearing witness to civilian deaths and destruction, will it make a difference? Will this shocking first-hand reporting galvanise the public and politicians, or bring justice if war crimes have been committed?
That's what I have to believe. That's how I keep going in this job. This is about what you believe in as moral principles. I believe in the moral principles of international law that we set up 80 years ago to stop the horrors of the Holocaust and other things that happened in the Second World War ever happening again, and everybody being held to account for those. War is war, combatants are combatants, civilians are civilians, civilian spaces are civilian spaces, ambulances are ambulances, hospitals are hospitals, schools are schools. And so if you can show that, as I have been doing every day, I think that matters.
It does.